good. It looks like I am good to go. Hey everyone, Otis Toussaint here. I am coming to you live from a location undisclosed. I'm not going to tell you right now, but we have really good content that's coming up regarding Blue Star Families. Blue Star Families. What are Blue Star Families? What's the organization all about? I'm going to tell you what it's all about. I hope that you enjoyed today's discussion. Of course, as you see at the bottom of our page, we've got a little ticker going on there. I'm going to invite you to come on out and fill out this survey, fill it out. You're going to understand the point and reason why I'm asking you to fill it out as well. As you see, I'm not in my typical quarters. I've got my little computer charging port here, but we're going to work this through. We're going to work it out, and we're going to make this thing happen. Who I have with me today? I have some very dignified guests. I've got a Lieutenant General retired Gwen Bingham, and I've got a young lady, Miss Roth-Douquet. She is going to come and talk to us about Blue Star Families. So I hope that you enjoyed today's discussion, and let's lead right into it. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Lieutenant General retired Gwen Bingham. Hi, ma'am. How are you? Oh, hold on.
In your company, great to see you again.
Good to see you also, ma'am. I am glad that we're reacquainted once again, reunited, and it feels so good. I am looking forward to this wonderful discussion today, ma'am. Just a quick shout out to the blue. The blue in your outfit represents our discussion, the organization, the points that we're going to bring up today, and just the entity of what it's all about, the importance of what it's all about. So I really welcome you to have this discussion with me again, ma'am. I really look forward to it.
Well, thank you so much. I am excited to introduce a very special organization led by a very special person this evening. You ready?
I am, ma'am. So talk to us about this very special organization and this very special person. What is it all about? Talk to us what it's all about.
Okay, I'll be happy to do so. Well, so as you know, I retired from active duty last summer. You and I were on an earlier podcast this summer, but several people have still reached out and said, hey, ma'am, what are you up to these days? And so I've taken on a new mission, and that mission is a board member with Blue Star Families. I'm excited to be a part of this grassroots organization that has existed, Otis, since 2009. Specifically for the express purpose to support our military families of all the services. You know, Otis, when I started my own journey, I had planned to remain in the Army only 4 years. Remember I told you that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yes, and that's a true statement. It was because of the people, however, the thousands of service members and their families that I had the privilege to meet, to team with, to learn from, and to care for, that really changed that 4-year mandate to what has become, or what became, over 38 years of the best part of my life to date. And so I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to serve this nation with some of the best men and women on the planet, and I mean that sincerely. Next month happens to be November, where we celebrate Veterans Day. So if you don't mind, Otis, let me take an early opportunity to shout out a sincere thank you to each of our veterans who serve now, those who have served, and those who paid the supreme sacrifice in service, and their families. So it was nearly 5 years ago, I had the good fortune to meet the president of Blue Star Families. And I can tell you, Otis, firsthand that she is passionate about our military families and absolutely spares no effort in advocating for them and supporting our families in every way that builds community and a sense of belonging. As a Jewish mother and military spouse herself, she has spoken about her own struggle to feel a sense of belonging in a community where her neighbors decorated their cars and windows with swastikas or flags that represented hatred or bigotry. But what impressed me most then, and certainly now, is the fact that Blue Star Families' president has a huge heart for people. I'm a people person and I love her heart. It's very, very special. In her capacity as president, she has a passion too for gauging the pulse of what keeps our military families awake at night. And to that end, she has produced and distributed an annual military lifestyle survey to gauge what is on the minds of our military families. The results of this anonymous survey is seen or will be seen by our most senior military leaders in the whole of Department of Defense and their spouses. It'll be seen by congressional members and policymakers as it has garnered their attention for almost a decade now, actually over a decade. So what we're on the show tonight with you, this podcast, we want to hear from each of our military entities, that being our active duty service members, our families, our veterans of each of the services, and our National Guard and Reserves. And Otis, I felt it was important to expose our viewers to the work of Blue Star Families, and two additional reasons. One, to learn about the Military Family Lifestyle Survey currently available online, and two, to encourage all of our military entities to take the survey. Currently, our African American and Hispanic participation rates are low, but rest assured, your voice matters. We especially want to capture your voices in the results of this survey when it's to be released. So please spend a few moments to complete the survey. We thank you all so much for doing so. And now, Otis, it is absolutely my pleasure and honor to introduce to some and to present to others a trusted leader, an advocate for military families serving around the globe, the president of Blue Star Families, and my friend, Miss Kathy Roth-Douquet. Kathy, over to you.
All right, so let's hear. Oh, there she goes. Hey, ma'am, how are you? How are you? I just want to reiterate to everyone once again, hey, I got on the description of our discussion today where you can actually fill out the survey. It's a survey with OT on it. That's personally and pleasant to me. So, take a little bit of time, fill out the survey. It's of really good importance. And she's going to talk to us about what exactly the survey is all about, what exactly Blue Star Families is all about, because representation matters. Yes, you can speak about issues that's going on in your family, issues that's going on that affects you as a military personnel. But if you're not represented and if your numbers don't count, then what's the point of even issuing that argument? So, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to be here. Gwen, thank you for that amazing introduction. And Otis, I got to tell you, my life was so blessed when Gwen came into it. And I grabbed her as soon as she was leaving the Pentagon to say, can you come help me on this mission? And she has made the ride that much more fun and that much more successful. So bless you. And one of the exciting things, Otis, I've heard about you since Gwen met you back when she retired, and I've been looking forward to meeting you. So I'm super excited to be here with you and your audience today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, I really appreciate your support, General Bingham. And so we will talk to you in a few. Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, Miss Kathy. So let's talk about Blue Star Families. I see the logo. I see the thing behind you. We know the terminology. We know of the importance of representation, but I'd love to hear directly from you what it's all about.
I love, Otis, what you're saying about the importance of representation, because that's really it. We need to have change. People need to understand why change is necessary. And if you don't tell your story, people can't hear it and understand that need for change. And so Blue Star Families, we've always started with telling the story. And telling the story, it's important for us to tell it person to person. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to my neighbor. But also do it in a way with data, with science, to hear the numbers. It's not just me. It's actually 64%. It's not just these people, but it's 7 out of 10. And that's what helps drive change. You get people's hearts with the stories, but you get the policy change with the numbers. And we try to put them both together in our annual survey. Get what is the ground truth for active duty, Guard, Reserve, their families, spouses, children, also for veterans and veterans' families. so we can unspool that story and see where we can make change to make everyone's lives better.
So let me ask a question, ma'am. What is the, before we get into the details of everything, what is the bottom line up front? What is the aspect, what is the thing that Blue Star Families, this organization, is all about?
Yeah, Blue Star Family supports military families in ways that strengthen local communities. That we put together the military family member themselves, the family as a whole, with the community where they live, because people live in real places. And we say, do you have a sense of belonging? Are you connected to your community? Are you working? Are you thriving? And if you're not, what do we need to do to change that so that happens? And that's better for the family themselves. It's better for the service member. It's better for the community they live in. And it's better for the country we're trying to protect if all those things come together.
So it's kind of like a quality of life. Hey, are you experiencing XYZ in this community? Tell us as in us military heads, tell us what is affecting your lifestyle, your quality of life. And you, by telling us that affects in the long term, could actually create change in the way how you're living, essentially.
Exactly. And we've seen it make change over and over again. And we see people surprised to learn the things that are commonplace to us. And it's not just the folks in the military that make the change, but also folks in the community who sometimes say, I had no idea I actually had military families in my community. I didn't know I had kids in my school or children who couldn't get into my daycare. I didn't know I had military spouses who couldn't work because they've been moving over and over again and couldn't transfer their licenses or find ways to get into the system. But once they know, then they can make that change.
I see. So, wow, I think Blue Star Families could have a great effect, especially like, say, for instance, overseas families. I remember being in Germany for a couple of years, and the biggest complaint over there is that, hey, we're having a hard time finding employment for many of these family members that come over there. Or some of our training that we have back in the States is not easily transferable back in overseas areas. So I really appreciate just learning about exactly what Blue Star Families is all about. But ma'am, can we talk about the annual Military Family Lifestyle Survey? What is that all about?
That is ground truth. And it's live right now. And if you're listening to this podcast and I've heard about your fabulous audience, Otis, I would love you guys to pull this survey up and start taking it right now while I'm talking, because it's only open until Friday. It's only open for 4 more days. And this survey, we put the top findings on a piece of cardboard paper, front and back. And I have to tell you, people walk around the Pentagon, the chiefs of the military services, with that piece of paper in their shirt pocket. Heads of the Senate Armed Services Committee will look at that paper when they have people come in to do testimony and say, what about this that we hear about people feeling like they have no control over their careers? What about this that we're seeing about children with special needs being left behind? So that truth gets distilled out, but we can only tell the truth. We can only tell your truth if you tell us, so we can translate it out.
What do you mean by your truth, ma'am? What should I talk about? Hey, I've got a family member who's going through these academic or medical issues, and how am I to believe that my truth will actually capture the ears of those who may have some effect?
Yeah, we are surprised ourselves how broadly this survey gets used. We have testimony. We know that many of the nonprofits that serve military families use our survey, actually wait for the results to come out before they dedicate their programming. Navy Marine Corps Relief Society told us recently, we wait to get the survey to decide what programs we need to fund and allocate. Where are their financial needs the strongest in the military community, so we need to allocate our funds for it. So literally, we get the results, and nonprofits as well as the governments are looking at those results, and they're changing how they act based on what you tell us.
Wow, that is, it's kind of like, hey, you've been complaining, you've been trying to bring up these issues that's going on in your family. This is the place that you can go to actually put out your questions and actually have effect, positive effect for the long term as far as what's going on. So, ma'am, who exactly are these underreported? I shouldn't say subcultures. Who are these underreported demographics? Who are these people that traditionally are not really well represented in these surveys that are done annually?
I'm so glad you asked that, Otis, because that's where I wanted to go next. African American, Black, and Hispanic military families are underrepresented in all of the surveys, ours included. And when we came to realize that in particular this past year, we realized we really have to do something about that. There are important stories to tell. So we have our military overall is about 13% African American. We have about between 6 and 8% taking our survey. So we need to double those numbers.
Wow.
It's similar for Hispanics. A little bit larger number of Hispanics are taking it, a little bit larger number in the overall population, but still under. And what we're starting to do now is actually the Black Lives Matter movement gave us an opportunity to say, are there questions we should be asking that are particular to these populations that we haven't been asking, but we need to think about, what's our mission? It's to support military families in ways that strengthen local communities. Well, are there ways that military families are having unique experiences in some of the communities in which they're living because they're African American? We actually pulled together a bunch of the members of our board and advisory board who are African American, like Gwen and retired Chief Master Sergeant Jim Sims of the Army, about 16 folks on the enlisted and on the civilian side, as well as spouses, to say, tell us some of the experiences you had as a part of an African American family that maybe no one ever talked to you about or never ever made it into the mix. And we started to ask, are there families who have been reluctant to take certain duty assignments because they didn't want to bring their family into a community? Well, that's kind of to our national security, isn't it? If people's career path is being affected by not being treated in the way you want to be treated, or being afraid of not being treated the way you might want to be treated in the community.
Let me ask a question, ma'am. How exactly can it affect an African American family, Hispanic family, if they don't fill out the survey? I mean, families are families, communities are communities. How can 1, 2, 20, 30, 40, 50 Black families not filling out the survey, how could it actually affect us in a negative sense?
Yeah, Otis, I think it can really slow progress. I think we actually have an incredible opportunity right now to get the eyes of a lot of Americans on some of the challenges that African American families have been facing, because military families are so sympathetic to everyone. If we can get that information and tell that story, we can drive change. If a family says, and I understand that I am busy, this survey is long, and it is long because we want to get all that detail, I don't feel like taking it, we're going to lose an opportunity. If do you vote? Because I hope you all vote. Well, this is voting. This is that kind of standing up for your community, using your voice to not just tell your own story, but to let your story help your whole community. And when I mean your whole community, I mean literally your whole community. It's because it's not just the other Black families that this will help. It's our whole community needs to be stronger by understanding the truth and by repairing some of the errors so that we can have that stronger military.
Wow, repairing some of the errors. That's, those words may key into some folks like, hey, traditionally, if you're filling out an information like a survey or whatever, it may not be something that I may not necessarily have the time for or want to. How long essentially are these surveys that people will be taking?
I am not going to lie to you. This survey is long. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes. You can start it, you can stop it, you can come back to it. But think of it like visiting your priest, because we want to know everything that's going on. We have open-ended places where you can explain your experience. We're going to ask you about everything from your education to your how comfortable you feel in your community. How many conversations have you had with someone who's not in the military in the community where you live in the last month? Think about what your life is like. And I think for many people, for me, I always felt kind of therapeutic about taking it because there's
Hmm.
something nice about telling these truths. So again, it's not short, but it should make you feel good, and it is a real gift to your community to take it.
Got it. So telling your truth. What do you mean by telling your truth? Do you want folks to be as blunt as they possibly can? Like, hey, I am in this community and I am seeing some pretty racist things that are going on. XYZ, these are the details. Do you want people to be as upfront and as
And
blunt as they possibly can?
yes, and I can guarantee you that there is the highest level of security around this survey.
Hmm.
None of your findings will be linked to you per se. We like to say we're your friend and neighbor. You can be absolutely blunt with this. This is not a survey that's coming from your boss's boss, right? It's a survey that is really you can feel safe telling it, and this is the place to tell anything uncomfortable that ever happened to you on any level or to your family on account
Mm.
of your race or on account of other issues that you may have felt were related to that, or unrelated to that, but especially about race, because I think this is our opportunity to tell this story. And even if there are things that happened in the past, or maybe you grew up in a military family and you had some experiences, share those too, because the stories are healing. We never did any kind of truth and reconciliation in this country, but we can do our little version of that. I think through venues such as our survey, which is just 4 more days to take. So now's the time.
Okay, so before I go into some more questions, I just want to let the viewers check out. Hey, I've got the link to the survey rolling on the bottom of the screen. Also, if you look into the description of my discussion this afternoon, and I am on no, not Instagram, but I am on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. Heck, I'm even on Twitter, on my Twitter account. You can go check out the description, fill out the survey. We've got 4 more days, and I hope that you do take the time, 20 to 30 minutes for a lasting effect, positive effect is worth it, in my opinion. So I've always got this saying, temporary pain for permanent benefits. This is definitely one of those moments. Ma'am, if you can talk to us a little bit more about, you know, why? Why should someone who, we see in the news, people are, we're stopping these discussions based on, racial identity and coming around and having the tough talks. We're seeing actually the ending of those discussions being put down as far as with, whatever policies are coming out. Why exactly should someone take the time now to fill out a survey like this?
I think it can lead to change. And I think some people also, sometimes we don't recognize that we deserve this, and it's on our plate to have this change. And I like to look to it to the lens of the military community, which is our lens. Blue Star Families has learned through these surveys that making sure that people have a sense of belonging in the communities in which they live is key to their being able to thrive. Military families, we saw early on, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of problems that drew us down. And those are the worst when people feel isolated. So we came to realize that the solution to that is fostering that sense of belonging. Well, if your family doesn't feel like they belong in your community because of a feeling of racism, that's going to undermine that military's family's ability to serve their country, their ability to thrive, and their ability to be part of that armed forces. And I think everyone can understand when you frame it in this way. If we love and we respect our military, if our country is doing things that is undermining the health and well-being of our military, it's undermining the health and well-being of America. When we hear stories of folks putting Army or Marine Corps tags on all over their car to make sure that if they're stopped, someone knows first off that this is a member of the military, so maybe they're a little safer. That right there is an anxiety or a worry that's undermining the person's ability to focus on their mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what degree are these things happening out there? Let's get that out there and on the table. I know it's crazy to believe that, but there are people there who just never considered these issues. So
Wow.
let's make them visible so that people can't help but consider them and say, well, what do I want? What do I want?
Wow. This is Excellent. And this survey is not just Army, correct, ma'am? This is all of the different branches in the military, correct?
It's even the Coast Guard, the National Guard, and Reserve. And again, if you're a veteran, if you served before, but you're not serving now, we still want to hear from you and want to hear from veteran spouses about what your experience was. So it's for you as well. I think we are very confident that we can get attention. The Secretary of Defense right now has convened a couple committees to look into diversity, equity, and inclusion, and particularly the experience of African Americans and Hispanics. We're going to be able to present this information directly to him. He's expressed his appreciation to us for the work that we're doing. So we can get people's attention. But again, Otis, as you were saying, people have to tell us their truth for us to share it.
So you've got to tell your truth, walk your truth, and of course, survey your truth as well. This is, wow, this is sort of like those things that people have been asking, begging, pleading for many years. And now the opportunity is actually here for you to take your time, put down on digits, put down numbers, put down stats so that persons like yourself and General Bingham can actually take it and now actually influence possible policy that could affect us positively. So, ma'am, I think this is an excellent opportunity. I hope that my viewers actually, I implore to you, fill out the survey. You see it ticking on the bottom of my screen. Take the time, fill out the survey, tell a friend about the survey, tell a veteran about the survey. Typically when you're underrepresented in a situation, the numbers become skewed. And if you have skewed numbers, then you're not really getting a real idea of what exactly is going on. And so for the long-term positive effect, take the time, fill out the survey. Ma'am, I guess in closing, could you just, if you could give me your hopes that you have for this survey, what are, the eventual outcomes that you'd like to possibly see and what possibly could end up coming out from it, I think the people that's viewing our discussion will enjoy that discussion.
Well, I'd love to. I'd like to give another example of the difference that this can make. We went back and looked at a lot of the work we've done in the past, and we separated out African-American families from white and Hispanic families to say, how are some of their answers differing in the past over what we've seen? One thing we saw in all of the work we did over COVID-19 is that we discovered two things. One, African-American military families had greater financial needs as a result of COVID-19, of the pandemic, than white and Hispanic families. We didn't find out why, but we just knew that they have more financial needs. So we were able to talk to USAA, who we're partnering with, who's doing no interest loans for families, and some of the other grant-making institutions to say, hey, you need to know that Black military families have greater financial needs than white military families. Who are you reaching? Are you reaching these families, or are you only reaching the other ones? And by the way, we also asked all these families, are you getting information about the resources and support out there for you? Black military families were least likely to be hearing the information about resources and support that was available to them. So that's telling me that no one is doing a good job reaching these families, and we have to find a way to do a better job in that. That means that these families have less help, and that's not good for anybody. So when we look at these numbers, we can then force action. And that's, I think, an example of how we now have folks going out there aware of it, trying to make a positive action, who have this relief, these grants and these loans to give, looking for that solution. We can't do that unless, again, you tell us your truth. 4 more days, takes a little bit of time. Start it now. You won't be sorry that you did. And we'd love your feedback on it. Not only take the survey itself, but any thoughts you have about, ways we can improve it going forward. Because honestly, we are here for you. We care about you. And we can only be in this together if we all are really in this together.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think these words will hopefully resonate with a lot of folks that are checking out our discussion, who will check out the discussion in these next couple days before the actual end of the survey. Wow, this is wonderful. I want to say something. It's I don't know how it'll come off, but it's almost as if, hey, we've got the saying, we've got the policy, and we've got the thoughts that Black and Hispanic lives matter. Well, this is the way how you could put it, your statement in actual policy. And I hope that people understand exactly what we've got going on here and this opportunity right here. So, ma'am, I'd like to rejoin General Bingham on our discussion, I guess in closing of our discussion. Hi, ma'am. Oh, she's mute. Let me unmute her. I think you've got, there you go.
Yeah.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you for rejoining our discussion. That was a wonderful discussion with Ms. Kathy Douquet.
Well, now you see why I love this young lady so much. And it's certainly been a privilege for just over 10 months to be a part of her board, doing some wonderful work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ma'am, Miss Kathy, I really appreciate you coming and talking with us on my little platform I've got here about what your organization is all about, the importance of what you've got, the influence of what you've got. And I'm hoping that others really take heed as far as the opportunity now to improve one's community.
Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Otis. Gwen, thank you so much for this great introduction to and your audience, because these are folks we care about and we want to reach. The fact that you're serving them is really precious to us.
We actually got some comments on our live discussion, so I'm going to bring it up. There's a couple of comments. There's one, let's see, let's bring it up. We got one Facebook user saying they're following. I believe this is Major Retired Tasha Ford. Ma'am, go ahead and fill out that survey when you can. We've got some friends who saying, hey, Marla, how you doing? Thank you for saying hi. We've got a PA, Army PA, looking good, man. I think she's talking about you, General Bingham, because she brought up the royal blue at the end also. And of course, Major Retired Ford, she said, this is amazing. I believe also, and I agree that this is an amazing opportunity that folks should take the time now, fill it out, and be part of the solution.
Thank you so much, Otis.
Yes, ma'am.
To that.
I appreciate it, ma'am. If you all could both hang out in the broadcast room, I'll go ahead and close our discussion for today.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, and so you see the opportunity. You see the opportunity. Fill out the survey. Take the little time on the bottom there. You see in the description of today's discussion, an opportunity that you could fill out the survey and really have a positive impact in your community. This is something that doesn't come around quite often. This is something that's needed. It's kind of like the every 10-year, what's that thing called again that people do? I forgot the terminology, but it's what is it, ma'am?
Census.
Yes, the census. I appreciate it, ma'am. It's kind of like the census. The census affects funding in certain communities, and it affects representation, political representation in that community as well. Well, this is an actual opportunity where you can affect funding and policy change in whatever military community that you're in. If you're a retiree, if you're active duty, of course, all the different branches, Space Force included, you will be counted and your voice will be heard. In closing, I want to say thank you for coming and joining my discussion. As I always enjoy my discussion, and as I always say in closing, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of others. Bye now.